I don't have a visual for this residential development point, but I'll just say this. Adrian did a story yesterday, or was this morning? This morning that came out on the Daily North Shore about what's going on in Lake Bluff. On Wednesday night, the Historic Preservation Commission met, and they considered 4 tear-down applications. That's one less, I think, than they've had all last year. This is the first meeting of the year. So I would say there's great interest in Lake Bluff from a residential activity. I don't think it's going to be what it was at its peak, but I can tell you there's immense interest. Of the remaining subdivisions in the village that have already occurred, you have Lansdowne, which has 7 lots. You've got Wimbledon Estates, which has 7 lots. They're building spec homes there. So, I mean, something that hasn't happened in a very long time is that people are just saying, hey, there's going to be a marketplace and it's going to happen. So the number of plans that we're getting in is astronomical. So it's a very busy time and exciting time, which means it'll be painful, again, with the cones. Not only will it be in the major arterials, but it'll be in your neighborhoods. So, I mean, just be prepared, be patient, and be thoughtful. We always encourage, with new development and redevelopment and tear down activity for neighbors to be thoughtful of one another. Doesn't always work out that way. Certainly people don't feel that way, but again, we're doing our best, so just be patient.
Ed, why don't you go to the next slide, and I'll talk about residential development in conjunction with projects under review, because much like Drew and Lake Bluff, there is a lot of residential activity going on. Kathy reminds me that every day in terms of the permits that are coming in. In addition to Willow Lakes out near Brunswick and Amberley Woods, there's an awful lot of infill lots that are being, permits are being pulled for, as well as what many people didn't realize is that the city had approved a number of homes to be demolished, but then 2008, 2009 came, and all those just sat. Now people are starting to come back in and refresh those permits, and so much like Lake Bluff, I think you're going to see, even in existing neighborhoods, a lot of activities, both in terms of tear down and new construction. But probably the biggest project that you'll be seeing from a residential standpoint is one that is currently before the Plan Commission and the City Council, and that's the redevelopment of the 10-acre site at Laurel and Western, which was the city's old municipal services facility. We're working with Focus Development right now on a 172-unit mixed-use development. It has both single-family, condo, and luxury rental apartment component to it, all underground parking, and so about 60% of the area will be open space. And part of our challenge is to try and integrate this development in with the areas to the north and south and west of it as well. But I think it's a product type that we're hearing from the real estate community that's much needed in the Lake Forest area, and I think it's going to be very exciting. And I think Kathy is already taking names of people who want units at the site as well for the new development. I don't think we have, I got ahead of myself. So this is Western Avenue, Franklin, Laurel to the south. We have a 4-story apartment building located here and here. You have a clubhouse, which will be a component of the development, condo building, and then single-family homes. This is being tweaked. They had their first meeting before the Plan Commission. There was a lot of good comments that came out from the public and members of the Plan Commission. I think Focus is taking this back, tweaking it a little in terms of probably the biggest impacts are going to be in the area of traffic and stormwater management and how all that's going to be handled in that existing area. But I think we hope that we see them back before the Plan Commission probably in a February timeframe to keep this thing moving. I will say in the meantime, the city is moving forward with the environmental. So for those of you that may live in the neighborhood, you're going to start to see buildings come down. You're going to see some activity in terms of cleaning this site up. Regrettably, since the city used it as a municipal services site for over 75, 80 years, there's some stuff on the site that can't remain on that site if it's going to be residential, and so we're in the process of having to clean that up and get it shovel ready, if you will, for residential development. Well, I guess this is me too. Last Wednesday night, on the Plan Commission's agenda. This is the Lovell building out at Settler Square in Waukegan. I think some of you know that Lovell's has been looking to sell their building. Hopefully they took, I think, 2 years to try and sell it to another restaurant. I think unfortunately, though, the square footage was so large that they didn't get any takers. At the Plan Commission meeting Wednesday night, there was a petition from a doctor's group to turn Lovell's into a medical office building. And clearly there are some issues and some concerns about going from a retail use to an office use out in that area, and what will that mean? I think a lot of good questions came up at the Plan Commission meeting that will be forwarded on to the City Council. But unfortunately, while I think we were able to encourage the reuse of this building, so Lovell's, even though it's not that old, has sort of become an icon in that Settler Square area. It will stay, the building will stay, it's just the use will change over time. Amtrak Stop, I should mention the Telegraph Road train station and the Amtrak Stop. I think you've heard me talk about that before in the past. Those are projects that we've got. Engineering is 98.5% done. We should have it done here in another 2 weeks. We are making a pitch to some outside agencies for the additional funding for that, as well as getting approval for the Amtrak Stop. If all goes well here in the next 45 days and we are able to secure the funding, we will be going out to bid with IDOT in June of 2015, and construction could start in the fall of 2015 on the pedestrian tunnel that would go from the east side of the Telegraph Road station to the west side of Telegraph Road station. Amtrak is just an issue of Wisconsin Department of Transportation and the Illinois Department of Transportation fund the Amtrak line that runs through Westlake Forest, and so all we need is their approval to make that stop happen, and that's something we're working on very hard as well, because right now there is no Amtrak stop in Lake County at all, and we think it's important for the good of Lake County that there be a stop at that location. Grove Cultural Campus, we are right now, and some of you in this room may have participated in a comprehensive plan study to look at Northcroft Park and the Grove Campus, what can happen there, what can be done there, any changes, because there's a considerable amount of open space that is there that's underutilized, and so I think there were some really good ideas that came out of that visioning session that many residents and others participated in, and we'll be bringing that before the Park and Rec Board and the City Council probably late spring or early summer. And then last but not least, Lake Forest College. And Irene probably can speak to this much better than I, but the Science Center, they are aggressively trying to raise funds for the renovation of the Science Center. And from a college perspective, it's an integral part of their program and something that they need to upgrade to be more competitive with the other colleges in the area. And so the Johnson Science Center hopefully will be renovated and under construction in 2015 as well.
So if I'd known what I know now, I would have had a cone, soft cone, probably about 8 feet tall, maybe about 6 foot in diameter maybe. Anyway, true story, sitting in IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation headquarters for our region in Schaumburg, waiting for a meeting with the director, looking at a pamphlet on a coffee table, and I look down and it says, Phase 1, this is gonna take a long time. True story. So, June 2010, the village started a Phase 1 study, and if you know much about highway developments, it's broken up into 3 phases. Phase 1, which is environmental studies and preliminary engineering. Phase 2 is land acquisition and plan development, and the final phase is actual construction. So for the 41-176 interchange, we're in the Phase 1. Again, started it back in 2010. And they can take from 3 to 5 to 10 years, depending on a lot of things. This is very close, the Phase 1 is very close to being completed. We thought we were gonna be done last fall, and then some things happened. There was some highlights, or actually a storm event back in May brought a lot of attention to this corridor, and the state said, wait a minute, let's look at that a little more. They piggybacked on this project to try to develop some hydraulic relief plans to cure some of the stormwater problems. That took more time, but the good news is I'll get to one of the projects that's going to, I guess, shaking off that tree. But this project we expect again to be done by this fall now, and hopefully that will get it in line to get funded for phase 2 and the multi-year Department of Transportation's plan, and then finally to phase 3. But the short story is the geometric study that's been done thus far shows essentially what you see now that's out there, they call this a jug handle plan, that is going to stay based off of what they've done, the work they've done today. It'll be improved. They'll have lane widenings, dedicated acceleration, deceleration, and has minimal impact to property owners in terms of takings that would be required, in terms of additional footprint to complete the project. So this is coming quickly, relatively speaking. This is the stormwater improvement I was talking about. So the viaduct, here's 41. This floods, right? Pretty frequently in the spring. So IDOT is trying to figure out a cure for that. There's a pipe that they can do. This is probably about another 6 months from now. I could tell you this when exactly this is going to occur. But right now they're looking at 16-17 construction to install, and they don't know whether they're going to replace the pipe that's there, add a pipe right beside it, or just fix what's there and slightly improve it. So but they've got a couple things they're kicking around, but hopefully relief is on the way, and they're working on that so that major arterial gets opened up and is not a problem. If you stay here really quick. So that same May storm that brought flooding to this corridor also hit the core of Lake Bluff and many neighborhoods, which kicked off the village to hire a consultant to do some studies to try to find some short and long-term cures for stormwater, because if you've been through Lake Bluff in a major storm event, the viaduct will flood going into town. And that's our only east-west crossing to get into town. Otherwise, we gotta go pretty far north or south. So we're gonna try to find a cure for that. And I'm sure it's gonna have a hefty price tag. But also some of the surrounding areas that had some flooding issues are trying to cure that, as well as a subdivision that took it pretty hard in that storm as well. So I'll just jump in on possibilities. So be brief. Some of you know this. PNC Bank is in Lake Bluff, downtown, the old Northern Trust Bank spot is closing its doors in March, I think March 20th. So that's an opportunity. Not certain what's going to happen there. PNC Corporate has told the village that they will be working with a broker to market the property, but they won't do it until after the doors close. I don't think that's actually true. I'm sure they're out trying to find a new user right now. But we've received numerous phone calls about that site. So I would expect there will be something taking place there, and this time next year I'll be telling you a different story. Hopefully it's good news. Likewise, there's another, I'll call it possibility, is where Lake Forest Bank and Trust moved out and they went and took the Bay Tree stall down the street in Scranton. This is I think it's only 1,400 square feet spot, but it's one of those rare vacancies in downtown Lake Bluff. Don't get many of those. So if you're looking to move your shop downtown, this is a very small window of time that I think it'll be open, so you should take advantage of that. It's a great place to be, have a business, and super fun. And I'll talk about why it's super fun in a little bit.
Okay, I'll just quickly go through these because I figured if I didn't say something about them, somebody in the audience would ask. What's happening Everett and Waukegan, and also the mobile station, Deer Path right across from Deer Path Inn. Part of the reason they dragged on for so long was because of the environmental issues, being old gas stations. Both of those sites have received their no further remediation letters from IEPA, and we know that there's a lot of kicking of the tires on both of those because Kathy gets a lot of phone calls about both of those, and we know that the owners are at least entertaining proposals from people for those sites as well. Also, Amberley Woods, everybody asks what's happened with Whole Foods site. I will tell you that Kathy and I have met with the owners. They are aggressively entertaining proposals from multiple development groups, some including bringing back Whole Foods. So I think that while there's no guarantee, that might be one we see in 2015 as well. Ridge Road and Route 60, there's that large vacant parcel right there. There had been approved a residential development for that right before the recession hit. There is a new company involved that is looking at the potential of taking over plans and coming back to the city. So I think there's a possibility that the Plan Commission, City Council will see a proposal in 2015 for residential development right there. And then Lake Forest Academy has got a number of things going on that they continue to do to upgrade their campus and improve their campus going forward. And then, unless you've been asleep, BMW is coming back to Conway in 2015. September 14th to the 20th, I think, is the date. And we are already beginning our plans for improving that. We thought that it was a very successful tournament. Actually, it was voted by the PGA Tour in 2013 as their best tournament. But there are some things that we know we can do better, both for ingress and egress into the site. And I think also the second time around, the WGA and BMW now believe that Lake Forest really knows what it's doing. They have a little more confidence in us, and so they're actually ready to listen to some of our suggestions in how we can better manage traffic and people coming in. So I think you're going to see an improved access point to that, and also I think you're going to see improved use of public transportation. While we really encourage them to use Metra and other opportunities that were out there, they sort of poo-pooed that and didn't really want to do it. Now I think they think it's a great idea, and so I think we're going to try to encourage a lot of the people coming to the BMW to come via public transportation.
Yeah, and in the interest of time, I'll just say, this is, if you look down the street, this is the kind of problems we're dealing with in Lake Bluff. People complaining that the sidewalks are too crowded. Do I need to say anything? I mean, it's a great problem, right? But that's the truth. I get complaints about that. And it's, I couldn't get to the train because it was so crowded in front of the brewery. So anyway, what a great problem to have. And I won't list all the special events that go on in our downtown, but I think our reputation and our brand of having a very fun, playful community is going to continue in 2015 with numerous block parties, 4th of July parade, huge parade every year. We have the bike races back at the end of July. The History Museum is doing their car show, which they stuck their toe in the water last year on it, and it's going to be huge this year. So, so many special events, and as my friends in town say, Drew, you know, hey, need a breather. It's just so much going on, and it's hard to say no, right? Because it is so fun.
That completes presentation. I know it's late. Drew and I will be happy to stick around if anybody has any questions, but as you can see, there's a lot going on. So as Aaron Rodgers said, just relax. Just relax.